The name Perkins carved in stone. Below a Gothic tower, a boy navigates with a cane. A title, Transitioning to Preschool with Bhavina Hirapara.
I have a 3-year-old. His name is Raj Purohit, and he was born premature at 33 weeks, and he wasn't diagnosed right after his birth, but they were seeing the extranuchal fold around his neck, and they were suspecting about having a Noonan syndrome. And they did bunch of blood works and everything to rule out all the emergency situations, and they diagnosed him at 4 months that he had a 2q37 deletion, 17q duplication syndrome. It is a genetic unbalanced translocation between 2 and 17. And they didn't had any more clinical information of anyone having both of the abnormalities. There are some cases who has the 2q37 deletion syndrome, but they are like a very wide range of deletion, and he has a wide range of mega-base duplication too, and which includes global developmental delay. He is more susceptible to have seizures in the future, and they have to watch him every 3 months to check for the Wilms tumor. It's a kidney tumor, and he's nonverbal, non-ambulatory, and he has a behavioral and sensory issues, and he doesn't babble or talk anything yet, and he is 3-year-old right now, but developmentally he is still at the 6 to 7 months range. He is hypotonic, so they don't know like if he's ever gonna walk or he's gonna do all his stuff on his own, because they didn't had any clinical information. We don't know that how his future is gonna look like. But yeah, overall he is in a good condition now.
We see a video clip of Raj in his preschool receiving one-on-one services. A young woman holds up a display with a red circle and a yellow triangle velcroed on opposite sides and asks Raj to identify the circle.
Where's the circle? There it is.
He actually spent his first 7 months of life in the hospital, in and out most of the time, and he was getting some sort of therapies at the hospitals too. And that's how we came to know that he will have physical therapy, which will help him in his low muscle tone, and he will have this occupational therapy and everything to make his all needs. And when we came home, we started with the early intervention. So early intervention is a birth to 3-year program, and till 3 year he was getting the occupational therapies once a week, physical therapy once a week, and then music therapy, which he loves the most, and speech therapy, and also the feeding therapy. And because he had a cortical visual impairment, he was getting the vision therapy too, and that was really helpful.
To clarify, Raj received services from a TVI, a teacher of the visually impaired.
And apart from the services from EI, he was coming to the infant toddler group at Perkins, and there also he was getting the vision therapy and 2-hour one-on-one services in all areas. So up to 3 year he had all the services, and which helped him.
Fade to black. Finding and accessing transition resources.
Infant toddler program was more of a parent support group too, and that was really helpful, because when we got a diagnosis for Raj, it was very hard for me to talk about what he has and what kind of future he's holding off and everything. It's very hard to explain people what he has, and I wasn't able to talk about his diagnosis, about how he's doing and everything to our friends, even to our family. So after coming to the group, I met other parents whose kids has the same similar issues, and they were sharing the experiences and everything. I felt like I was at home, and when I was telling them something, I felt like they were understanding it.
Several young children are shown participating in the Perkins Infant Toddler Program. Volunteers and staff hold the children and engage in a welcome song. During this time, the parents of the children have an opportunity to meet separately and share experiences.
So it was very helpful. The infant toddler group program was not only good for Raj, but it was supporting me as a parent. It was nurturing me as a parent, how to cope up with the daily, challenges with what we had with Raj and everything. And that's how like we came to know about the services around for the kids with disabilities and what the resources to find and what we always like talk about what doctors is good and where we can go for this therapies and everything. So that's how like I also came to know about many resources, and that also like helped me. They help me and nurture me to do the advocacy for him and everything. So it was really helpful to be the part of that group. Initially, when we heard about the word transition, when we started coming to the infant toddler group, we had no idea what it is look like, and we were just trying to see how he's doing with the early intervention and how he just started making the progress, every little progress we were counting and everything. And at that time, we didn't realize that when he's gonna turn 3, he's gonna lose all this, and he has to go with the new environment, new learning approaches and everything, for better, of course. But when we came to the group, that's how when we spoke to the parents, and we attended some of the conferences, and there is a federation, Federation for the Child with Special Needs. They do all sorts of workshops. We did attended the basic rights workshop and IEP for my child, and transition workshop, like what to do after your kid turns 3. And we attended those workshops, and that's how we educate ourselves first. We as a parent were like going to the workshop and raising our questions and asking about how the process works and trying to understand and making our minds to walk through the process and everything. We also attended, there was a Mass Families Organizing for Change, MFOFC Leadership Series. We attended that series for 3 months, and it was a very good experience, listening to all of the parents, and they were like parents who were working on a transition from, age 13 to 14, and then transition from 21, like a bigger transition. So we could, based on what we hear from their experiences, we could, understand and learn a lot, that how it's going to look like, how we'll have to advocate for our child, and how this process works.
We see a web page from the Massachusetts Families Organizing for Change website. The page contains information about the workshops offered by the group for families of individuals who are disabled, including the Family Leadership Series and a workshop titled A Full Life Ahead.
It was really helpful, and also at the Perkins we attended the Early Connection Conference, which also helped us to connect to other parents whose kids has the similar vision issues, who has similar medical issues, and how they cope up with the school and how they prepare themselves for the meetings and everything. So it's like listening to other parents and going to all the support groups and everything. We educated ourselves first. And there was one more group that's a regional consultation program, Northeast group. That was also helpful, listening to other parents' stories of, after there were some parents whose kids were more than 3 years and they were going to school for like 1 or 2 years, and how those, they were putting up their experiences and how they are doing at the schools and everything. So it's before he turned 3, I think we did all the homework, I would say, for sending him to school. So we, as a parent, also had to learn a lot from the entire process.
Fade to black. Developing the first Individualized Education Program.
We had our IEP meeting when he was 2 years to 10 months old. Usually the process starts around 2 years, 6 months, and then early intervention has approached our town public schools that he's gonna turn 3 in September, and then they came for the informal meeting at home. Preschool director and the nurse came to our house, and then they talk about what services they had, and they met Raj, and they also heard about his diagnosis and everything, that what he will need from us. And then they did the assessment and evaluations. They came to our house, and for every areas they did the assessment with the EI team. And then after that we had our first IEP meeting at the school, and somewhere around in June. So it was discussing about all what they figured out from the evaluations, how well they knew Raj, and they represented us, their goals and everything. So at the IEP meeting, we had like me and his dad, we as a parents, and then we had EI team, early intervention team. We had our service coordinator from early intervention, and then we had our speech therapist coming with us. And they did the outside evaluations too. Public school did the outside evaluations. So one of the teacher, the therapist for hearing, auditory services, she was also in there. But she was kind of part of the school and part of the team too. And they said like what kind of accommodations they're gonna make. And so the IEP meeting was all about discussing what he's gonna get at school.
In a video clip, we observe Vraj working with a TVI, a teacher of the visually impaired. Vraj sits supported in a wheelchair in front of an LED light board. In order to minimize visual distractions, a hood of dark material extends from the back of the light board to the back of his chair. When prompted, Vraj is able to change the color that the lights emit by hitting a large button that the TVI presents.
The process of developing the IEP meeting, it was all a little bit stressful, and after IEP we felt a little bit disappointed about it. The reason behind it is I think we were, before the IEP we prepared the goals that we want for Vraj, the services, frequency of services, list of services that we want for Vraj, and at the time of IEP, I think we were like keep thinking of what we were expecting instead of listening to what they were representing for Vraj, what they were presenting for Vraj, what they were thinking that this will benefit Vraj. So during the IEP meeting, there wasn't, we didn't have to accept anything at the same time. Like they are proposing everything, and we just have to listen it. And then we had time to respond to them about, placement, about the goals, about the services that they are recommending to us. So we actually just took whatever they were giving at that time, and we just left at that time. And then we eventually, when we came home and when we got the IEP, we discussed about the things that they had written in the IEP and then what we thought of included in the IEP. And then we did a meeting again, like an informal meeting again with the preschool director, asking them if it is possible to change some of the goals. And there were like a lot of differences from what our perspective was and from what their perspective was. And eventually, after having all this negotiation and everything, we finally came closer, and we tried to make those two ends meet. And there was some of the changes that they were saying yes, okay, we can change that, and some of the changes that we had to say, that's fine if you don't want to change it right now, whatever you have, at least if we can tweak it around a little bit, or if we can think about it, changing it, rephrasing it after 2 to 3 months again. We had to let it go on some things that we initially thought that we don't want to. And there was a new things some of the things that we didn't thought of, but they put it on the IEP, so which was really good because they are doing all this from many years now probably, and educators are more aware of the steps and everything. And I think in the initial IEP we felt like there was a language difference also, like learning the IEP and when they were talking about the goals and everything. As a parents, it was hard for us to understand the language of the goals and the complexity of the goals. But when we asked them again and again, and then we came to know when they were explaining us that when they say 70% of the time, 6 out of 10 times and everything, and finally we figured out what does that actually mean for him.
As Vraj works with his teacher on the exercise to recognize shapes, we see that she is keeping a record of the number of times that the shapes are presented and the number of times he selects the correct one. She can also note whether he received prompts.
And we felt like that was a good approach, that going step by step towards the main goal. As a parents, we were writing only the main goals, and we want to see the outcomes, and they were writing it as steps. First step is to achieve this little goal, and then second step is to achieve this little goal, and then go towards the bigger goal. So eventually, we after negotiation, we came to an agreement, and then there was better things that we both as a team wrote for Raj.
Fade to black. Determining the most appropriate educational setting.
When we thought about like sending him to school, we were not sure about, if we're gonna send him to the public school. There are collaboratives available, there are private schools available. But coming to the Perkins, I had we attended the early learning program here, and we saw like what kind of services, how the classroom looks like, how the kids are doing, like what kind of teachers has what kind of approaches to the kids and everything. We also did a tour of deafblind program at Perkins, and because Vraj has a partial hearing and vision issues, like a processing issues, we initially thought that this would benefit him more, and the services and the timings and everything was very good. But as we live in a Burlington town, we our second thought was, that we needed to keep him in our town, in our local public schools, that he will be closer to our home, and then we will feel more involved with him. So we thought about that too. And in our town, there was a collaborative option available too. And we did visited the collaboratives. We saw the classroom. We really liked the teachers and like the classroom setup and everything. There were kids, they were in action when we went to the tour. And we felt comfortable that, if our kid is going to come here, he's definitely going to make progress and everything. At that time, the public school that we chose to send Raj, they didn't had a classroom setup ready yet. So we did met with the teacher, and she was like, she's very energetic, and she was looking forward to it, and she had a lot of ideas in her mind at that time, and she was she showed us like on a paper that how the classroom is gonna look like, and they were pretty much accommodating for Raj's needs, and also they were pretty much open about the suggestions to hear from parents, like what we think that would be helpful for our kids in the classroom. And that's how like we ended up making our mind that we want to send him to the public school, because there was a more involvement of us in the program itself. And they were making a really good accommodations for him, and they were pretty open about everything. They were pretty much flexible about it, and they kept the door open for the reconsideration of the placement in case if the placement doesn't work out for Raj. Another thing is like, because we attended all these workshops and everything, and then we hear a lot from the parents, and we did a tour of the programs they were running. We, as a parents, we knew that we should have this in his classroom. He has a vision issue. He keeps staring at the lights. And then here at the deafblind program, I saw that they put like a lights curtain kind of thing, which reduces the lights, intensity of the lights. We mentioned that to the school, the public school, and they were happy to change that in his classroom and put that in his classroom.
Fade to black. Observations.
Raj is in a substantially separate program in a early childhood center at Burlington Public School, but they have a typical kids preschool programs also going on within the same building, and they are having inclusive activities, like they take the kids, special needs kids with the typical kids in the park, or sometimes they visit each other's classrooms, and they do some special activities together. And that is the part actually I really like the most about it, because when I hear from the teacher that your kid is a rock star, because all the typical kids are always eager to know that, oh, he has a gait trainer, like seeing him in the gait trainer, they feel like, oh, he has all these gadgets and all these equipments and everything. And initially I was very skeptical about it, that how he's going to do with the typical kids, because I always worried about, if the kid coming, running into him or hurting him or something like that, because he doesn't know. And he's nonverbal. If something happens, he's not going to tell. But when I hear from teachers and therapists, I feel like he's really enjoying that particular inclusive part in the school. When they are out in the playground, if he's in his gait trainer, the other classroom kids come and say like, Raj, move that feet, Raj, move that feet, move forward. They encourage him. And it's very, very good to know that, he's being accepted by all the kids. And I have noticed a bigger difference sending him in those settings, because initially, like when Raj was, he's being very social. He likes people's faces, but only adults' faces. If he's in the group, he's sitting with the other kid, he won't look at the other kid. But now I started seeing the difference. He will look in the other kids and he's more interested in the other kids. Like, he's looking at them, he's watching what they're doing. He never watches us eating. When he's sitting at the dining table with us, if we are eating, he will like keep looking around and he won't make eye contact to us and he won't look at his daddy and everything. But at the school, his teacher one time said that when they do the lunch or the snack program together, and sometimes they do it with the typical kids in the same table. And he was like, even though he's not that interested in eating, but he will look what other kids are doing. Like if other kid is like picking up the spoon and putting it in his mouth, he will follow like this. So that is a huge improvement in him, sending him in the part of inclusive and the substantially separate program. So at the school, he is getting vision therapy once a week, twice a week, and speech therapy twice a week, feeding therapy twice a week, physical therapy twice a week, and occupational therapy twice a week.
We see Vraj in his classroom, sitting in front of a number of shiny objects of different shapes and colors that hang from a metal frame. Vraj is able to reach out and grasp any of the objects that attract his attention.
Apart from that, because of his auditory issues, he's getting auditory therapist once a week. And as he started having all these behavioral issues like biting his thumb very hard or self-injurious mild behavior that he is developing right now, he's getting a once a month behavioral therapy for that. His classroom, which he wasn't ready when we decided to send him to the school, now that he's ready, and it's pretty much looks the same that what we discussed and what kind of equipments we want. They did all the arrangements which is helpful for his needs and accommodate all his needs. They ordered the chair for him, special chair for him to put it in the classroom so that he will have a better proper sitting position while they do all the activities and everything. And his teacher is also sending our communication notes daily, stating that what activities they did, how many time and how long did he nap, how he did in the playground, and what kind of therapies he had on that day. And the therapist also sends a note that how he did in the therapies, and is there any unusual behavior if they have noticed, they mention that. And I was more wanted to know like how he's doing in his feeding therapy, and they write down in the notes that if he took the AM snack, lunch, and how many spoons he got fed by mouth and everything, and how he was behaving while they are doing it. So it is very, very good to know. And also his teacher writes the blog about once a week. I think I mentioned that before, and once a week, and then I get to read throughout the week what he did, what activities he did, how he behaved. And I get to see pictures of what he did during the week. So it is very good to know. And then the classroom also has, there are 3 kids right now, so they have a different section for them. They have a floor time to get the opportunity to sit on the floor independently and all that. They have a little room for his, vision stimulation and everything. They have equipments needed for their exercise, like a stander. We are sending our own gait trainer, and he has a light aid and everything. And they use the iPad with them in the classroom. And his teacher was pretty good, putting the schedules on a tactile objects and showing them, exploring their side towards that. So pretty much, it's pretty much accommodating all his needs right now in his classroom. And I think he loves to be in the classroom.
Having been given a choice of activities, Vraj has selected reading. The book that is being read to him is about turtles who decide to have a race. As part of the activity, Vraj is asked to remove small plastic turtle figures that have been Velcroed to a Veltex board.
Nice work.
It's very good to know when I say something to his teacher that he's doing this kind of behavior at home. Did you ever notice he's doing at the classroom? And his teacher says, no, he doesn't do it. He's very well behaved here. And what I read from the blogs and what I see the pictures on the blog, I also feel like he is a very well behaved kid in the classroom. So I think he knows the difference of, I'm with my mom and I'm with my teacher. So that is a huge thing. That is a huge part of development, that he started learning his schedule and started learning his, different peer interaction and everything. Initially, it was very hard to send him to school, but now when I think of it, I feel like that's his space, and that's my space. Like I have to let him go a little bit for his better. He gets all the therapies and all. He gets to, play with other kids. He gets to learn the smallest things in a different way from the teacher, and I really appreciate it now. At that time, I wasn't. At that time, I was really feeling sad about it, that I have to send him home. I think I was more worried about that, he's nonverbal. He's not going to tell me anything when he comes back. And as a parent, I want to know what he did, how his day went, what happened to him at the school, if, everything went on the time, if nurses did his feeding on the time, all that things. So initially it was very, very hard. I was waiting for him to come back home and reading all these notes, and I was picking up the phone and calling the school even though I had notes in my hands, confirming that he did this. It was how was his day look like, and I was in a week I was keep calling them, and I was also going to school initially just to check on him, but I think it was more hard on me than him. I felt like I don't know how he's gonna react to going to the new environment and everything. But he adjusted pretty fast than me. And then his dad was, I think he was pretty much practical about it. And because he goes to office, he doesn't stay with him the whole day. It wasn't that hard for him, but it was very hard for me. And today I feel like it was a really good decision to send him to school for full day program. And he is making progress at his own rate. He likes the classroom. He likes to be in the classroom. And when I read in the notes that he was a rock star today, it makes me feel so good.
Perkins would like to thank the following for their assistance in creating this webcast. Deborah Clark, Director, Burlington Early Childhood Center. Shannon Conroy, Classroom Teacher. And Karen Liljegren, Teacher of the Visually Impaired. Fade to black.